What is going on, YouTube? Hopefully you guys are having a fantastic day today. In this video, I'm going to be ranking the top 10 point guards in the NBA in 2024 in order from start to finish. And before we get into the video, I just want to mention this was a very difficult list to make. I mean, there are so many great elite tier NBA point guards right now that it's just hard to rank them all, you know? In fact, I actually have a top 12 point guards list instead of a top 10, even though that's what it says on the title. There's just too many good ones, and two of them I just couldn't leave off the list. They were that good of players. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. And I will say, before we get into the list, if you guys want me to make more videos like this, make sure you guys drop a like, because if we reach 50 likes on this video, I will be releasing a top 10 shooting guards list here on the channel within a few days. So make sure you guys drop a like if we get 50 likes, top 10 shooting guards list, and we'll even make it a series if this video breaks 50 likes. With that out of the way, I want to talk about the criteria for the list, and then we'll get straight into it. First of all, you know, I can see some criticism ahead of time for this video. So one of them would probably be some of these players didn't play the majority of the games as a point guard this season in 2024. A good example would be Kyrie Irving. Little spoiler alert, he's going to be on the list, and he technically played shooting guard this season because he's on the Mavericks. When you think of Kyrie Irving, do you think of a shooting guard? No, you know, he's played most of his career as a point guard, and he's just a point guard. So he's going to be on the list as a point guard. That's kind of how I'm going to do the positions. And basically, you know, the criteria will be 2024 production. You know, you had to play a certain amount of games. You know, so for instance, Ja Morant will not be on the list, unfortunately, because he just doesn't qualify for the amount of games. He is definitely an honorable mention. When he's healthy, he would be on a list like this, but not this season. So just keep that in the back of your head. I'm not forgetting about certain players, or just they didn't play enough games. So yeah, 2024 production, impact on winning, value to their team. Like, are they a number one guy, number two guy? You know, there's a lot of great point guards in this league. You got to separate them somehow. And some of these things are my criteria. With all that being said, sorry I took so much of your time. Before we get into the list, let's get right into the top 12 point guards in the NBA in 2024, starting with the 12th best, in my opinion, which is James Harden. Now, James Harden has had kind of an interesting season in 2024, you know, taking a new role with the Los Angeles Clippers, but clearly being a really positive player for their team. In my opinion, James Harden has lost a little bit of a step throughout his career. You know, I'm a 76ers fan, and watching him on my team for those, you know, season and a half or whatever it was, it's pretty obvious that James Harden isn't the MVP candidate, you know, top guy in the league that he used to be, but still a really solid all-star caliber point guard in this league. One of the greatest playmakers of all time, and one of the greatest, you know, shot creating three-point shooters of all time as well. So James Harden definitely deserving to be on the list. I couldn't leave him off the list. He's just such a good player. And, you know, his performance in the playoffs was really special for the Clippers, even though they lost in the first round to Dallas. But I have to put James Harden on a top 10 point guard list. For the number 11 player, again, this guy was just too good to leave off of the list, so I had to put him on, and that is Sacramento Kings point guard De'Aaron Fox. De'Aaron Fox, in my opinion, this season in 2024 really stood out from beyond the arc. You know, De'Aaron Fox has struggled from the three-point line, you know, throughout his career. That's been one of his weaknesses as an offensive player, but he really took a step up in terms of his three-point shooting in this season, and that's why, one of the reasons why it's basically, you know, impossible to leave him off of a list like this. I think De'Aaron Fox has a tendency to get underrated a little bit in the NBA, and, you know, unfortunately the Kings didn't make the playoffs this season, but he finished the season 8th in scoring in the entire NBA, one of the greatest scorers from that point guard position we've seen in a long time. But like I said, 8 attempts a game on 37% from 3 is a really big step up. His free throw percentage is a little low for a lot of these guys on the list, but really underrated playmaker, and obviously one of the best scorers in the league from any position. De'Aaron Fox deserves a spot on the list. Couldn't leave him off. Now we get into the real legitimate top 10 here, and, you know, it's crazy that the 10th guy is someone that's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, and, you know, just a couple of seasons ago he was looked at as a top 10 or so player in this league, and that is Bucks point guard Damian Lillard, who had kind of a rough season in Milwaukee his first year, you know. And when I say rough season, I'm obviously grading on a curve here, and I'm basically saying a rough season for Damian Lillard standards, who is a first ballot Hall of Famer, one of the greatest point guards of this era. You know, even with him having a subpar season for Milwaukee, and that team kind of being a little bit of a mess throughout the season, you know, going through 2 coaches and Giannis's injury in the playoffs, and really just kind of not going the way we thought it would with the Giannis and Dame tandem. Dame still put together a really great season, you know, all-star level season. Didn't shoot the ball, you know, as well as he usually does this season, and honestly, for the first time in his career, to me at least, looked like maybe, you know, his age was getting to him. Still obviously a great season, still one of the best players in the entire NBA, no question about it. But like I said, there's just so many great point guards that when I ranked this list for Dame, I was like, how can I possibly put this guy 10th? And unfortunately I had to, just because of his last season production. And either way you slice it, you know, I think Dame is still a top 10 point guard, but I have to be fair to the other players on the list, and they were just better this season and just are better at this point in their careers. Coming in at number 9 on the list, we have Trae Young. Trae Young, another player who had kind of a weird season, technically wouldn't really qualify for a list like this because of the amount of games he played, but it is a lot closer to the qualification than Ja Morant's would be. So, I have to put Trey because while he did miss a little bit of time and wouldn't qualify for an award necessarily, I don't think he played 65 games. I think he played enough games to be able to judge his season fairly. And, this guy is just a walking double-double from the point guard position, 26 and, 11, one of the greatest playmakers in our league today. Like I said, only played 54 games, but, he was super, super impactful for his team. Unfortunately, his defensive limitations and his size and being able to be exposed by bigger defenders and more versatile defenders, keeps him down at this 9 spot. But Trae Young is really become overhated in this league, in my opinion. Still really should be looked at as a elite tier player and point guard, not even just for his range and shooting and logo threes and stuff like that, but his ability to operate an offense is unmatched. There are very few players in this league as good a playmaker as Trae Young. Doesn't matter what size he is absolutely a top 10 point guard, deserves to be on the list, no question about it. Trae Young comes in at number 9. At number 8, we have my favorite player in the world, and that is Tyrese Maxey. You might be saying, this is a little high for Maxey because this is really his first breakout superstar type season, and I would definitely agree with that, but this is a guy who, let's be honest, just deserves this spot at number 8. I'm sure people are already writing in the comments that this is a biased selection from me, putting him over guys like Trey and Dame and Harden. He hasn't really earned that yet, and I'm a Sixers fan, so I'm biased. I just can't agree with that. I don't think this is biased at all. I think Tyrese Maxey is officially a superstar in this league, earning his first all-star selection, but not only is he a great shooter and scorer from that point guard position and blur in transition, he really showed this season that he's not necessarily a 2 guard and can really operate an offense as the number 1 lead ball handler at point guard. And not only did he show that, he basically did it as good as anyone in the league this season, other than maybe the top couple guys on this list. If Tyrese Maxey adds a mid-range game and a little bit more of a self-creation game other than 3-point shooting and driving to the basket as fast as he can, I think Tyrese Maxey could be a top 5 point guard next season. I also have to mention how he improved his defense quite a bit on the ball. Tyrese Maxey, can't say enough great things about him, really broke out as a superstar level player this season, all NBA caliber player this season, and hopefully many more great years for my Sixers. At number 7, this is where the list gets really, really tough to rank, and just the order has to be really, really considered, and I try to do my best, but at number 7, I have Denver Nuggets point guard Jamal Murray. You look at Jamal Murray's stats in the regular season and just the production in his career over the regular season, and obviously had a little bit of a down year in the playoffs this season, being injured and a little bit hobbled in those series, but ability-wise, skill set-wise, and clutch factor-wise, Jamal Murray is clearly better than the guys I named before. His impact on winning might even be higher than some of the guys I have ahead of him. He's just so capable of carrying an offense late in a game and hitting some of the biggest shots we'll ever see when his team needs him most. Jamal Murray's impact on winning cannot be understated. Also, one of the bigger point guards on this list. He can really get any shot he wants basically against most defenders. He's basically matchup proof in my opinion. The Wolves unfortunately maybe tainted the image of Jamal Murray in that playoff series, but not for me. You know what I mean? I think Jamal Murray is clearly underrated by a lot of the NBA. We saw in the 2023 Denver Nuggets postseason run where they won the finals, a lot of people started ranking Jamal Murray really, really high on their lists as far as total, NBA players go. Even some people having him near the top 10 or in the top 10. I don't know if that's quite the place he should be, but don't let the numbers and the regular season production fool you. It's similar to a Jimmy Butler type of thing. Jamal Murray is absolutely as capable or maybe even more capable as a lot of the guys on this list above him and before him. So numbers don't tell the full story on Jamal Murray. At number 6, we have the Dallas Mavericks point guard, and at the time of me recording this video, second best player on the Dallas Mavericks finals team, and that is Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving really redeeming himself and finding a new home in Dallas this season really has to put a smile on your face if you're an NBA fan. Over the years, Kyrie has been through quite a lot in his career, some of it self-inflicted, some of it not. No one has ever questioned his talent. It's just been a matter of, putting it on the floor consistently like we all know he can, and in this season, he's really done that. One of the greatest offensive players of this generation, maybe the most talented ball handler of all time, especially for a point guard of his size. Just one of the more complete offensive players in the game and one of the more dangerous offensive players in the game. Kyrie, while he has had his ups and downs in his career, 100% has wrote the ship and absolutely deserving of this 6th spot. Maybe you could even put him a little higher, but that's going to be up for debate for you guys in the comment section. At number 5, we have Point God 2.0, Tyrese Halliburton. And to be honest with you guys, Tyrese, again, similar to some of these other young guys on the list, has gotten a lot of hate, throughout his playoff performances, even though he led his team to a conference final as such a young player, being only 22 years old in this league. Tyrese Halliburton needs to get a lot more credit. Had one of the greatest starts to the season of anybody in the league, looking like an actual MVP candidate. I actually think that if Tyrese continued his play, he would have been up there for MVP, along with guys like SGA, Luka, and Jokic. Unfortunately, he sustained an injury midway through the season, and honestly, for the rest of the season, just didn't look like that same player we saw in the first half of the season, including the playoffs. And if he had continued that stretch of play and efficiency that he was producing, I would have him definitely in the top 4 or so, or top 3 maybe. But Tyrese Haliburton, point guard 2.0, probably the best playmaker in the league from the point guard position of anybody on this list, other than, someone I'm about to name. But you just rarely see a playmaker and passer like Tyrese Haliburton, one of the best basketball IQs in the game today. And even just for his own scoring for himself, he is still a really capable scorer and three-point shooter. Dude's just kind of the total package offensively. Number 4, this is again another controversial one. The 4 and the 3 player are going to be really controversial, and I thought about that a lot, but I had to go with what I really think. And as much as Steph Curry impacts the game, not even so much with his play, but just being on the court as that presence. We hear the term gravity a million times, but it is a real thing, and it is true. He doesn't even have to score the ball. Just him being on the floor without even touching the ball is maybe as impactful as a lot of these other guys while they have the ball in their hands. And I just think Steph Curry at this point in his career is, his longevity is insane, and it's super impactful night to night. You can't understate how great he's been for that Warriors team throughout the last couple of seasons. After their finals run in 2022, they lost a lot of the help that, got them to that finals run, and Curry has had to do a lot of this stuff by himself, basically on offense, and he's done an amazing job of it. The West is so tough, and they've been in the play-in tournament the last couple seasons, but honestly, Steph Curry still a top 15 player in the league. I don't think anyone would argue that. Maybe even you could say top 10, and if you want to get crazy with it, top 5. I don't know about top 5, but it's easy to forget just how impactful this guy is, like I said, without even touching the basketball. And like I said, this is going to be a hot topic of debate, I would imagine, in the comments for number 3 and Steph Curry. But at number 3, I have Knicks point guard Jalen Brunson, and the reason I separate Jalen Brunson just a tiny razor thin margin from Steph Curry is because of the ability to carry a team, maybe without as much help as Steph Curry would need. So all that great stuff I said about Curry is absolutely true, but it is also true for Brunson. And I think Brunson's ability as a number 1 option and leader just surpasses most of the guys on this list. I mean, he could have, a couple of guys that aren't even NBA players on the floor and somehow find a way to lead this team and his, New York Knicks squad to a victory in any given situation. Anytime Brunson's on the floor, he might not be the biggest, he might not be the fastest, he might not be the most athletic, he might not be the strongest, he might not even be the most skilled, right? But he is going to find a way to make you hurt on the scoreboard, right? And Jalen Brunson's heart and effort and, basically dog, for lack of a better term, is, I think, his best ability. He is a unique type of player, but I just think his ability as a number 1 option to lead a team any given night to a win is just, it's just greater than a lot of these other players that I named before. And I didn't even say anything about his ability or his production this season. He's obviously an MVP candidate this season and turning the Knicks around basically single-handedly since he signed there. Jalen Brunson, again, similar to a Jamal Murray type of thing. You might look at his numbers and think, well, this guy's better, that guy's better from the point guard position. You look at him play basketball and you're like, his size, he's smaller, he's not fast, he's not jumping out of the gym, right? And he doesn't rain threes all the time, but he just has that it factor, man. And he has a post game as a point guard. He has a back you down and turn around fadeaway. The footwork is incredible. The fundamentals are all there. It's just, Jalen Brunson as a number 1 option has to be, ranked a little bit higher than some of these guys, and that's why I have it the way I do. At number 2, we have another MVP candidate from the 2024 season, and that is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, or SGA for short. SGA is one of the greatest players in the league, absolutely a top 5, top 10 caliber player in this league. This season, he had a real case for MVP. The dude is just so good at every aspect of the game. He's a two-way monster at the point guard position, super long, athletic. Again, another guy that's just so skilled, with the ball in his hands or on both ends of the floor. This is the guy that I think of anybody on this list might be the best defender from the point guard position. His defensive numbers are incredible too, really doing it on both ends. Maybe unlike a lot of the guys on this list who are offensive-minded players, and they're allowed to be because they're so great, but SGA really brings it on both ends every night, gets in the passing lanes, gets, a lot of blocks for a guard, some of the, best block numbers we've seen from a guard, and it really just has the total package on both ends of the floor, right? And that's something that not a lot of players can say on this list, maybe none of them, right? But SGA has all the skills. He's just so incredibly versatile. He could beat you in so many ways. He's a really great slasher, one of the best we have in the league right now. Excellent finisher. His shooting is absolutely good enough to draw a defender out to the perimeter and fight over screens instead of going under. But then, his handles and his ability to create his own shot and, set up his teammates is just, it's just spectacular. This is a type of guy that you only see once every generation or so, just the total package, So SGA really has to be the second best point guard. You can't even really debate that in my opinion. And at number 1, I think we all know who this is going to be. It is Maverick superstar point guard, generational talent, offensive-minded genius, Luka Doncic. I don't know how much I should even have to say about Luka. You know, I don't want to even just waste people's time saying stuff that everybody knows about him. Maybe the greatest offensive mind and IQ player we've ever seen, other than, you know, guys like Jokic and LeBron. He's right up there with them in terms of how he sees the game. He's just such a big body from that point guard position. He can take you inside. He can kill you with those step back threes. You know, it's really similar to a more big and consistent James Harden, right? He's like James Harden with all of the dog and a lot more size and a more modernized, you know, offensive bag, right? It's just insane how good he is offensively. I've never seen a more complete offensive player in my entire life. The ability to break down defenders, the ability to manipulate matchups, set up his offense. I mean, it's just like he's seeing the game in slow motion and everybody else has to catch up. And that's why Luka has to be the best point guard in the world. You know, there's absolutely no debate about it. These are the top 2 guys, you know, Luka and SGA, and then everyone else, in my opinion. And it's like the tier of point guard. Luka and SGA are the S tier. And Luka's even, I think, a tick better than SGA, you know, obviously, clearly. But you know, the gap between everyone and Luka is just so big, other than SGA. And that's why you have to have him number 1 in the entire NBA as a point guard. And, you know, if I'm making a top 10 NBA players list, he's got to be somewhere within the top 3, no doubt about it. And that is the top 10, top 12 list of NBA point guards. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure you guys let me know down in the comment section what you have as your top 10 point guards. You know, I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of disagreements. That's okay. You know, I don't expect everyone to agree with this list. It's gonna be highly debated, disputed. I even spent a lot of time going over it myself, making sure I wasn't making any mistakes. I'm telling you, man, this is gonna be one of the harder positions to rank for you guys because there's just so many great point guards and you're gonna have to leave someone out. And you know, that's why I expanded it to 12, because I felt like those 2 guys, Harden and Fox, were just too great of players to leave off the list when you think of the top 10 point guards. Honorable mentions, I will say really quick, for the people that, you know, maybe were missing one of your favorite players or so. I'm going to run through a bunch of these guys, you know, that definitely deserve some recognition and credit and praise and stuff like that, but maybe just not on the same tier as these other guys, in my opinion. That is Drew Holiday, Darius Garland, Fred VanVleet, Cade Cunningham, Kobe White, obviously Ja Morant, who I mentioned before, LaMelo Ball, who didn't qualify for the list, DeJounte Murray, who, you know, is kind of in a weird position battle for me. Like, I might have him on a shooting guard list. I'm not too sure about that. We'll have to see. But obviously, you know, caliber player that you would see on a list like this. But hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, man. Like I said, 50 likes for the next top 10 list. It'll be the shooting guards. And then if that one does well, we'll, you know, keep working all the way through all the positions and then maybe do a top 30 NBA players list or so. That's my plan. But, you know, make sure you guys like the video if you guys did enjoy it and want to see more content just like this. We upload videos similar to this every single day on this channel. So if you guys don't want to miss more videos like this, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. It would really mean a lot to me. We're trying to grow every single day. I love basketball. It's my passion. I love it more than anything in the world. And I just want to share my passion with you guys for the game every day on this channel. So hopefully you guys have a great rest of your day today. I'll catch you guys in the next one. 50 likes. Like I said, make sure you guys hit that like button, man. I'll drop the next one as soon as I can. I'll catch you guys in the next one. This is your boy D-Haven. As always, peace.